Hello traders, welcome to the Simply Trade YouTube channel. So I just want us to look at trade review in confluence to the market outlook for the week that I shared with us in the YouTube channel. So we're just going to focus on GBPUSD. If time permits, we're going to look at Euro USD and possibly other pairs. Today's Thursday and I'm recording this particular trade review for us to see what happened on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then look at it in confluence to the weekly market outlook perspective I gave us, and also how you are to build your framework for entry executions with the weekly perspective that we do share about the markets in this YouTube channel. So what you can see here is this is GBPUSD. You guys can vividly remember we identify where this rejection came from. It's from the monthly time frame block, and we saw how this bearish rejection to the downside came, and price took out buy side, volume closed below that, and then we saw we have a weekly bullish fair value gap, and I told us we want to see bearish narrative to the downside here in GBPUSD because all of those buy sides have been taken, and we looked at that in confluence to what we saw in the dollar index. And then the first target I told us to anticipate to see if price falls into is this weekly rejection block that we have here in the weekly time frame. It's a weekly rejection block because you can see we have the longest week here. Price came, mitigated that, dropped to the downside, and then price came, went bullish, and then broke above that. So that was our first target I told us to anticipate to see price trade into. And if price dips way much lower, we'll be looking at this institutional order flow level to see how price is going to come into this. So clearly we established from the weekly market outlook, I want to see price or trade bearish to the downside. First target is here into the zone, and furthermore we could look to the possibility of price dropping into the IOF level. So that was what we built for the week in GBPUSD. So from the daily time frame, we didn't really see much in the daily time frame. It was from the 4-hour time frame we identify where we could see our bearish possibility. The zone would want to see price return into, mitigate, and then give us the bearish continuation. What we only identify from the daily time frame to build our perspective for the expectation to see price is going to drop is to see price also come into this inversion fair value gap. So we also identify an inversion fair value gap here as a drawn liquidity that would really want us to see price comes bearish to the downside. So in the 4-hour time frame was where we identify where we would want to sell from, because from the 4-hour time frame I showed us how price broke through this, price returned to the upside into what the bearish fair value gap mitigation, and then the 4. This is where we have an unmitigated zone, an unmitigated block. Price took out buy side, bearishness to the downside, and we marked the block where I told us we want to see price straight back into this, and then we can have our bearish continuation to the downside. And you can clearly see how price came into that. You can clearly see that it was a clean return and then the drop to the downside. So within the week I shared the setup in the free Telegram community when I saw this ongoing movement, and from the lower time frame, that should be possibly from the 1-hour time frame or 2-hour time frame. We're going to look at that. I can't remember, but I think it was from the 2-hour time frame. I expected to see price was going to sell off from this block, and we saw how this candle has been printed. And then I took my entry from the 2-hour time frame. I'm going to show us guys that for the sell possibility to the downside to see price aim for this sell side liquidity. But unfortunately, anyway, price went back to the upside. And what I pointed before this happened was this. I said, I'll be looking for the sell here, but I am more conscious of price seeking the previous day high points, coming into this bearish fair value gap where we have the last buy movement before this sell impulse to the downside. Because from the daily time frame, we're going to see we have an inversion fair value gap and a bearish fair value gap there. So that was why I said we could see the possibility that price will aim for the previous day high. So selling from here would be the best. Even though I was attempting, or I attempted selling, not even attempted, I actually sold from here. You can see that displayed on the screen. That's from the 2-hour time frame. Let's look at the 2-hour time frame. It gives us the clear picture to that. So in the 2-hour time frame, I saw how price came here during the London session, taking out the Asia session high, mitigated this open close price here in the 2-hour time frame, and then we had this rejection to the downside. So what I saw was how price traded down below this last buy candles before the sell. So I took my entry here, stop loss was above here, and price triggered my entry, started going bearish, and this also was going bearish. Wanted to see how price was going to trade into this level with the possibility that it will seek also the sell side liquidity. But anyway, price went back to the most valid zone. This is the strongest valid zone because it's a bearish fair value gap in the daily and also an inversion. Look at that from the daily time frame. So you can see that here in the daily time frame. This is it. You can see it's a rebalanced price delivery because here we had a bullish fair value gap. Price came, rebalanced this, creating a bearish return and then the fall. So what happened was this. I think a trader in the mentorship community took his sell movements from here also. He had a sell movement from here during the London session. So we're going to look at that. Let's look at the 1-hour time frame. So what we can see in the 1-hour time frame is this. So you can see the institutional order flow here. So the first movement was this, London session took out Asia session high, and then the fall, a breakout structure. Liquidity has been taken, fall, breakout structure. So I expected to see this movement to the upside. Price seek Asia session high. If I should see price give us a movement bearish and breaks through this, then I would want to sell at a return to see price trades bearish to seek sell side. So that was what I was looking forward to, even though I had this as the most valid zone to look out for. So price started selling, but then went back to the upside. So it was here we had the valid sell reason. So London session, price took out Asia session high. There's an engulfing candle breaking through this. You're going to see that in the 15-minute time frame clearly. So let's see that in the 15-minute time frame. So we can see that here in the 15-minute time frame. Price came here, displacement to the downside, broke the structure, return into the buy movements before the sell, and then